Tell Me More podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. Hello and welcome back to Tell Me More. Today we have the second instalment of Ask Me Anything, which we have renamed to Ask Me More. We've got questions remaining from our previous episode and some more recent questions from you all. And I have Daniel back in the hot seat to ask. Well, I think actually I'm in the hot seat. Daniel's in the question seat.
You are in the hot seat. There's almost 200 questions that have come through that we've filtered. That's filtered 200 good questions. We're not going to go through all of them.
Do you think they're all good?
I mean, that's that's subjective, I guess. There's some good ones and some not so good ones, but out of all the ones we filtered through, we ended up with 200 in a list that we had to then cull down. So well done to everyone for getting involved.
Thank you for sending your questions through. Some of them are questionable, but also some of them I do really appreciate, and I'm excited to see which ones Daniel and Matt have chosen for us.
Okay, the first one we have. I have a friend who isn't being very kind. She makes snarky remarks, but nothing too major that I feel that I can bring up with her. What should I do?
Oof, I have definitely had this before. I would say that you still need to bring it up, even though it feels like the moments aren't, difficult enough or big enough to bring up. If you're feeling uneasy about it, you need to communicate that. I've made the mistake in the past of having an issue with a friend and not telling them directly and then telling another friend, and then it came back to the friend, and that's always messier. I think you're better off being direct, having the open, honest conversation with them, even though it'll be uncomfortable, and tell them how you feel. And if they're a real friend, they will want to do better and want to make you feel better. But if they're not a real friend and they're not a good friend, then they won't respond well, and then maybe it's time to get rid of them.
How do you know if you're making the right life choices or not?
You don't. Simply put, I don't think that we ever really know if we're making the right life choices or not. But you have to go with your gut, and some advice that my psych gave me that I try to apply to, all life decisions now, whether they're big or small, is picturing myself on each path. So say the decision is whether or not to stay with someone. So you've been with them for a while and you're not completely happy, but you don't know whether the issues are big enough to break up or stay together. You have to picture yourself on the path of breaking up with them. What does your life look like? There's a lot of unknowns. You don't know maybe where you're going to be living. Your financial situation might be different. There'll be so many things that will be different. But can you see yourself being happier? And then picture yourself, in the same situation, in the same relationship 3 months down the track, still in the relationship. Does it look the same, and are you unhappy? And then go off of that. So that's actually what I did when I was making the decision whether or not to stay in my marriage. And yeah, I pictured both scenarios, and the one breaking up seemed like the one that made more sense at the time.
That's actually the next question, and probably 100 of the other questions we received was, how did you know it was time to leave your long-term relationship?
I think, this is something we spoke to Lucy about in her episode, was knowing when to leave a relationship, because it's so hard. I think all of us have doubts that, you go through phases in relationships too where you might doubt it more than other times where you feel super secure. So it's hard to know how much doubt is a normal amount of doubt. But I think if you go by, there's like the 80-20 rule of, 80% of the time you feel good and happy and secure, and maybe 20% of the time you don't feel as great. But I think that's like, a very normal human experience. If that is more skewed, then it's probably time to reassess, because you can't possibly keep someone happy all the time, and you can't always do right by your partner, but you want to try your best. But I think if someone keeps letting you down, or if there's some sort of pattern that doesn't go away, no matter how many times you have a conversation about it, then yeah, it might be time to make a tricky decision.
Staying in the same category, What are your tips to heal?
It's funny, my sister listened to the previous Ask Me Anything episode, and she said I had given some advice on, healing from a breakup, and I said time, and she said she laughed because definitely there have been times when I've gone through a breakup and I've jumped into other, maybe not relationships, situationships, but I still do think time, even though I haven't always listened to that rule, I think time is a healer for sure. But also going through the motions and feeling all of the feelings, because if you suppress it, it's going to come up later for sure. Talking to friends and family, journaling. Journaling is not very appealing when you're not feeling good, but it helps so much. I think like putting pen to paper and actually writing everything down helps a lot. And therapy. I'm a very big advocate for therapy.
We've got a lot of running and training questions in the many questions that came through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a slump. How do I find motivation to train, run, eat well again?
I think you need to start small. I feel like when people set themselves a goal when it comes to exercise and fitness, and maybe it's weight loss, if you put too much pressure on yourself to lose a certain amount of weight or to fit into a dress or whatever it may be, I feel like it's a really toxic motivation. And then you're sort of setting yourself up for failure, because if you don't meet those tough expectations that you put on yourself, then you feel shit, and then you're more likely to just sort of beat yourself up, punish yourself, and be like, oh, well, I'll just give up this week and I'll start next week. And I think that's the issue with fad dieting in general, and also focusing on aesthetics rather than how you feel. So for me, it's setting goals that are attainable, like exercising maybe 3 times a week rather than every single day. And also, just not putting too much pressure on yourself and not completely restricting your diet. I think you are just bound to fail at some point if you cut all of these things out of your diet, because you can't do that forever. And yes, you might hit the goal, whatever it is, say it's, losing a dress size. You might do that in a couple of weeks. But then once you stop whatever restriction you've been putting on yourself, you'll just go straight back to what you were, and then you're going to feel shit. So setting goals that are attainable and maintainable. So, something that you can implement into your life that is like a healthy goal. Like, I want to be, faster at running. I want to be able to run this split pace by, in 2 months' time. That's a really good goal, rather than focusing on how you look.
Tell us more about your skin treatment, please. I've just started Roaccutane.
I've been on Roaccutane twice. I went on it when I was 15. I was prescribed Roaccutane by a dermatologist, and it worked. It was very intense. I had really intense side effects. And then I went on it again when I was 22, and I was devastated because I thought that going on it the first time would have cured me, but I struggled with acne most of my teens and then into my early adult years. And it sucks. I really feel for this person and anyone who's struggling with their skin. It's way more debilitating than I think anyone who hasn't struggled with their skin would realize. I was struggling with acne up until 2020, like the end of 2022. My skin only just sort of got better in the past year and a half. And it was thanks to some skin treatments that I did. I did some laser treatments called Pico and BBL. That was at Ode Dermatology, but I'm sure there are other places that do it. And then from then I changed my skin regime. I was really hesitant to go on Roaccutane, only because I'd done it twice before, and also I was trying to fall pregnant at the time, and you can't take vitamin A or Roaccutane when you're trying to fall pregnant. So yeah, I tried to do things in the most natural way that I could. And my advice would be, seek professional support and don't give up. And I know it's hard and depressing and you feel like it's never going to get better. But it's important to find someone who will really listen to you and listen to your symptoms and try and get to the bottom of it. I think for me, in hindsight, a lot of mine was stress and anxiety related. It's crazy what your body does when you're really stressed.
Top 3 things you do to boost your mood.
I like this one. It's funny, I've noticed more and more recently being in a happier place and a better mental place. And also probably because I live by myself, but I sing and dance a lot at home, like in my apartment. Not well, but if I'm, trying to boost my mood, I know that will help. Just being silly and, thinking back to what you would do as a kid that would cheer you up. And that's one of those things, like putting on a song that maybe you're embarrassed that you listen to, but one that you know all the words to, and just sort of let go and have a bit of a boogie. That always helps. Getting outside, getting fresh air, whether that's a walk or a run, that always helps as well. Often getting outside and listening to music, so combining the two. And then the third is reaching out to a loved one. So I've got a bunch of close friends and family members that, I'll FaceTime, even if I don't feel like it, because I know that it'll help. And I think I have a tendency, and a lot of people do, to sort of withdraw when you're feeling down and you don't feel like talking to someone. So if someone's calling you might screen their call, but you've got to push past that feeling and do the opposite.
What's an embarrassing memory that still makes you cringe?
It's funny because I think about this more than I probably should, but anytime I see the brand, it comes back into my mind and makes me cringe. I was 12 and I had a crush on a friend's brother. His name's James. If you listen to this, James, hey. I had a big crush on this guy. He didn't know that. And there was a fair age gap. I think maybe he was like 4 years older or something. So he was like a cool teenage boy. And I was trying to strike up a conversation with him, and he was wearing a watch. So I was like, I like your watch. He was like, thanks. I said, what brand is it? He said, guess. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, no, that's the brand. So literally whenever I see something with guess written on it, I'm like, oh, I still think about that moment because I wanted to die inside. I was so embarrassed. Like, damn, I missed my moment.
Didn't even guess either.
I didn't guess.
Nothing came to mind.
Oh, what a dork.
How do you handle stress when things feel overwhelming?
Oh, similar to boosting my mood. I do all of those things to sort of de-stress me. So listening to music, calling a friend, getting outside, but also in the moment when you actually have to get a lot of stuff done. Often that's the thing that stresses me out, is like meeting deadlines or feeling overwhelmed by my workload and feeling like I'm going to let people down and getting lots of emails, that kind of thing. Writing lists is one that always helps me. So, and chunking them into things that need to be done, within the next hour, things that need to be done within the next day, the next week, etc., etc. And I think once it's actually written down, it sort of takes the pressure off, and you can, tick things off and feel a little bit less overwhelmed.
Tips for surviving a divorce. I'm about to get divorced. It's for the best, but I'm dreading it.
Oof. Get a good lawyer. I think, ideally you can avoid using a lawyer, but obviously that's not possible for everyone. So that is my first piece of advice. Surround yourself with good, supportive people and make sure you lean on them. People are way more willing to help you than what you might think. So if they offer help, take them up on it. Don't try and do everything on your own. Try and get all of the logistics stuff done as soon as you can. That's also what I did, because I think the longer you drag it out, you're just dragging out all of the anxiety and horrible feelings that come with it. So the quicker the better, if that's possible. I know that financially it can be really challenging for a lot of people, so it might not be possible, but yeah, if you can, the sooner you can rip the Band-Aid off, the better, I think.
What's something you wish you could tell yourself 2 years ago?
Oh, strap yourself in, because it's going to be a wild ride. Oh God. Probably listen to my gut. I think for a really long time, whether it's 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I've had a tendency to just sort of squash my feelings about things and not tell people how I feel, whether that's in romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships, all sorts of scenarios. So yeah, I think to trust my gut and to be more honest, because life is too short to not be.
How do you know when you've healed enough to date again?
I literally had this conversation with my psychologist recently. I don't think that, well, he said that there's no such thing as being healed enough for a relationship because no one's perfect. And when you go into relationships, it is likely that your previous traumas will come up. There's always going to be scenarios that will trigger you, and you might not know what it's going to be until it happens. So it's not possible to think that you are a fully healed human before going into something. So the answer is it's not possible. But also my psych said to me that if you do enter into a new relationship with someone, into a healthy relationship with someone who is supportive and respects your boundaries, chances are they've got things they need to heal as well, but you can heal together. You know, if you have good communication and you respect each other and you want to help each other, then you will be able to continue to heal with the right person. So hopefully that answers the question.
What are some tips for someone having a bad body image day?
This is a good one. There were a few things that I had to do in my eating disorder recovery because I would have lots of days like this. Most days, to be honest, at the beginning were bad body image days. And I think over time they just started to dissipate. But the first thing I did was get rid of my scales because when I was unwell, I used to weigh myself all the time. So getting rid of those like completely out of the house just gets rid of that temptation. To stop body checking. So if you're having a bad body image day, try not to spend too much time in front of the mirror because you're probably just going to critique yourself. If you do look in the mirror, try to give yourself a compliment. And it doesn't have to be about how you look. It could be about your hair or your smile or your eyebrows or your eyes or something about your image that doesn't necessarily change so much that you know that you like day to day. Try not to focus on your body itself and your size. And then, but it also is, it's healthier, I think, to give yourself compliments that are not related to how you look. So it could be about your personality or your work ethic or, you know, the way that you communicate with your friends, whatever it is. Think of a few things that you really like about yourself and you know to be true and repeat them. And the more that you say them, the more you believe them. Something else is wear comfy clothes. So don't try and squeeze into clothes that maybe fit you before when you're a different size, because if they're feeling uncomfortable, you're going to be way more conscious of how your body is feeling. So comfy clothes, avoid the mirror, and do things that make you feel good. And be nice to yourself.
How do you feel about your book a couple of years on?
Did you write this question, Daniel?
I didn't.
I don't like my book to the point where I tell people not to read it. And I feel really icky admitting that, because I do, from the beginning, I've felt like it's something I should be really proud of, but I haven't ever really felt that. And I thought that the feeling of pride might come with time, but it's had the opposite effect. I think the book was published in 2021, so coming up to 2.5 years ago now. It'll be 3 years at the end of this year. And it went to print in June of 2021, and I haven't been able to bring myself to read any of it since that day. I have a selfie from that day of me just crying. And I think the tears were emotions of like relief and somewhat pride, I suppose, because I finished it and I was happy to be done with it. But I don't know. I think there's a few things about the book where, for one, I felt like I wasn't being completely authentic generally in my life. And so I wasn't in the book. And also, I feel like the tone isn't quite me. And there's a lot of things that if I went back, I am sure that I would want to rewrite pretty much the whole thing. So, the answer is I feel very strangely about my book. Maybe I need to rewrite the whole thing.
I have a follow-up question that's
Okay.
not from the audience then. why did it get to print? If you felt that way, did you feel that way like in reviewing it in the lead up, or
honestly the whole process? I thought that I would find it cathartic because a lot of it I wrote about my my eating disorder and challenging things in my life, mental health, challenges and all of that. And I thought that it would be nice to get it out and write about it. But I actually found it quite stressful. And I spoke to my psych at the time, and she said what I was doing by writing it. And then when you write a book, the editing process is a lot. You have to reread and reread and reread and reread. And she said basically by putting it down on paper, you open up a wound when you're talking about something difficult. And then every time you reread it, you're scratching that wound. And I felt that for sure. I just felt like I was scratching myself over and over and over and over. And then I thought I would feel better once it was done and it went to print. But I've never written a book before. I didn't know what the process was like. And I said to my publisher, is it normal to hate your book when it goes to print? She was like, yeah, I think that's pretty normal. But I think, yeah, my feelings around it were pretty strong. So that's why.
No book club reading sessions anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm hoping that this specific question is not sparking people to go and read the book. You can if you want, but just know that it's not, I don't know. I don't feel like it's really me.
How to deal with toxic friends?
Cut them out. I think like the one I said before, if I've had friendships in the past, and I think we all have, but it's something that comes with age and time, is that you realize, your life is too short and time is too precious to be wasting time with people that don't lift you up and support you. But yeah, I've had friendships where, their name will pop up on my phone, and instead of my reaction being like, oh, yay, I can't wait to talk to this person, it's like, oh, what are they going to say? They might be a bit of a prickly person. So often their messages could be, a bit difficult. I think obviously you go through phases like you do in romantic relationships. Friendships ebb and flow. Sometimes, if someone's going through a harder time, they might not be as supportive as other times. Things change, people change, but the constant should be that you want to be there for each other. You want to support each other in both the good and the bad times. And I think the sign of a good friendship is when you leave them, when you've been hanging out, whatever that looks like, you can't wait to see them again, or you're already thinking about the next time that you want to see them. Whereas I've had ones in the past, and I think these are toxic friendships, when you leave and you feel exhausted and drained and you're like, oh God, like, thank God that's over. You shouldn't be having friendships like that. So cut them out.
I've divorced at 31. How do I tell my next partner?
This one is interesting for me because obviously I talk about a lot of things and I'm very open, but I know that not everybody is. My advice would be to tell people straight up, just to be upfront about it. I don't think it's something to be ashamed about. It's just something that has happened in your life. It's just a different kind of breakup. And I think by hiding aspects of yourself with a potential partner, the honesty, the truth will come out later at some point, and that might rock the boat a bit. I think you're better off putting it all out there on the table, and they can take it or leave it. And if they don't want to accept you as you are with what you've been through, then they're not the person for you.
Good answer.
Thank you so much.
I have another little segment we want to play. Mm-hmm. You haven't seen any of these. It's called Red Flag, Green Flag. I've got a huge list, and we put them together today at the office with a whole crew of people who gave us red flags and green flags. A lot of them are dating red flags and green flags, or just partner red flags, green flags. Cool.
Okay. I think this is perfect because I need to know that I'm getting better at recognizing red flags.
You need some help. First one. Red flag, green flag. Pays on the first date.
I think it's a green flag, but it's not necessarily a red flag if they don't.
Yeah.
You disagree?
No. You're right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I think you shouldn't rule someone out if they don't immediately go to pay on the first date.
Cool. So we're going to go.
Yeah.
This one was funny in the office. Head and Shoulders shampoo.
Ooh. I mean, it's neither. I don't think it's a red flag because if they've got dandruff and they're doing something about it, that's probably a green flag.
All right, I'm going to add to it then. The 2-in-1 singular Head and Shoulders or any 2-in-1 shampoo.
2-in-1's a bit of an ick. It should be like red flag, green flag, ick.
What's the ick sound? Ew.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know if I have an ear.
I could just make it myself.
You just do it in this voice.
That is so horrible.
This one was strange. Polo shirts.
Do you mean like a Ralph Lauren like golf kind of shirt?
I think so. This one didn't make sense to me, to be honest.
Do you wear polo shirts?
No, I don't really, but...
Probably red flag if not worn in context. Like if you're wearing it for golf, fine. But if that's what you wear to the club, probably a red flag.
Next one, saying in the club.
What do you mean? That's really cool.
Talks to their mum every day.
Green flag. I talk to my mum twice a day, every day, pretty much.
Has no skincare routine.
Yeah, probably red flag.
Okay.
I mean, some, if we're talking about guys specifically, some guys are just very blessed and have really good skin. But then I think they would never understand what I've had to go through with my skin. So for me, it would be a red flag.
Has an Android phone.
Yeah, red flag. If you can't airdrop to me, then you're no use.
You're no use. Has tattoos.
It's not a red flag, but it's also not a green flag. It's a beige flag.
Oh,
I think also it depends on the tattoo. Like if they've got like a Southern Cross tat, that's a red flag. Or something really offensive, that's a red flag. But I like tattoos generally. I don't have any, but I think that they look cool on other people. And I like knowing what the meanings are. And I think if they have some cool meanings, then yeah, I like that. Green flag.
Okay, green flag. No socks with their shoes.
Someone got trolled once on one of my photos on Instagram for not wearing any socks, and they got called a sockless wanker. So that's just what always pops into my head. You're a sockless wanker. Yeah, probably red flag. You're a walking red flag.
I've got so many in this list. I made the list. Uses their parents' Netflix.
Red flag. Ooh, Matt uses his parents' Netflix.
Saving money is
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. If you're a bit of a thrifty cent, then green flag.
They use mine, my parents, and then they blocked me out when when the new Netflix rules came in, where you had to add an extra user. You have to pay for the extra user now.
That's fair enough. How old are you?
I'm 35, but they use mine.
Oh, okay.
I said they use mine. I don't use
they
theirs.
they blocked you.
They blocked me out of my own.
Okay, that's shit by them. That's a red flag on your
Red
parents.
flag, yeah. I mean, it was just bad boomer technology operation. Has only girlfriends.
I actually do think that this is a red flag. A friend of mine recently said when you're dating, you should ask someone to name their closest friends and tell you good things about them. And I think it should be mixed gendered.
I think it's a red flag too. Is a DJ.
Probably a red flag.
Oops. I did that. I didn't mean
Like if you're 18, 18 to 23, fine. Like if it's like a side hustle while you're at uni. But I think as a career, like you don't want to be dating like a 40-year-old DJ. Sorry.
Tells you his star sign.
Actually, I take that back though. Like DJ Tiger Lily, she's a vibe. So maybe it's like, this is sexist, but maybe it's male DJs. Red flag. What was the next one?
He tells you his star sign.
I mean, if you've asked.
Unprompted.
If you're referencing a date that I went on, then red flag.
There we go. Gives you fashion advice.
Unsolicited, red flag. But if you've asked for their feedback and they're honest with you, I think that's a green flag.
Okay.
But also, yeah, if it's unsolicited and they're telling you what to wear, that's such an ick and a red flag.
Has no social media.
Green flag for me. I think, yeah, it depends on the person, but I think it's a green flag.
Has bad grammar.
Red flag. I don't want to be like classist, but as a speech pathologist, for me, I need some good grammar.
Loves karaoke.
Green flag. I like someone that doesn't take themselves too seriously and have a bit of fun, you know?
I guess it's like how much do they love it though?
Yeah, like if they're performing and like really serious when they're doing it, that's probably a red flag.
They do it every
and they do it
day.
every
Yeah.
every day.
Every day.
That's a bit much.
Every day.
It comes back to too much of anything
Yeah.
is not a good sign. But if you're at a karaoke club and they are willing to have a go, that's a green flag.
I like this one. Has smaller hands than you.
That's a red flag. Ooh. I've got a thing with hands. Oh, let's not go into that any further.
What, is shorter than you?
I don't think that that's a red flag, but I also don't think it's a green flag. It just is. I don't think that it should be a reason to not be with someone, but some people get short man syndrome. Like a short king's fine. Like a guy that has a great personality, because he's short, he's had to work harder to like, you know, be funny or it's a thing. That's why like short kings were trending, because like tall guys have it easy. They just walk into a room and girls are like, oh wow, he's tall, he's attractive. Whereas short guys have to work harder, you know, or they can go the other way where they feel hard done by and they get defensive and they get bigger egos because they're short. It's like my mum's sausage dog. She's got short man syndrome. She barks at everyone and thinks she's tougher than she is, you know?
We're going to clip just that bit. That's the bit. Won't let you lift heavy things.
I think that's a red flag. I don't like when a guy will give me too much help, as if I'm like this meek woman and I can't do it myself. Like, let me lift my suitcase, thanks.
This is the last one. Cries during movies.
That's a green flag for me. I love a bit of an emotional person. Someone who's in touch with their feelings. I think it's nice.
That was red flag, green flag.
That was
well
fun.
done.
But yeah, I think that it shows my, like, why my dating history is a bit questionable, because I can make a red flag or a green flag fit any scenario.
So maybe don't listen to you.
Yeah, maybe come up with your own answers. Yeah, if you disagreed with those red flags and green flags, I would love some feedback. Let me know.
Shout out to the shorties.
Yeah, Short Kings, we love you. We're going to do oranges and lemons, and I've fully put you on the spot, but I would love to hear your orange and lemon of the day or the past couple of days.
I got a good lemon actually, and it's not really about me.
Okay.
Brendan, who works here at the office, he got given a free meal today from the cafe down the road. Actually, I got him a free meal. They were shooting photos, and they were like, "Do you want to take it?" And I was like, "Brendan would love that meal," so I brought it back.
That's
in the
nice.
plate here. They let us take the bowl, which was nice. And he then let it sit there for 4 hours on the table.
And it's a warm day.
And it's a very hot day today. And then I said, I'm going to go get lunch. And he goes, I'll just take that and I'll come back to you at the cafe. And then he ate it. So that was a lemon because it made me feel sick. And I'm fully calling him out here because I think it's also a red flag.
Yeah, that's yucky.
So that was my red flag and
a red flag and a lemon.
My lemon.
Mm-hmm.
You give me your lemon because I have to think about my orange.
My lemon is a big lemon, a big sad actual lemon. I found out a few days ago that my dog Ziggy passed away, and that's made me so flat. So I was a bit nervous to record today, but you guys have lifted my mood, so thank you. That's probably an orange. I feel like years ago my mum said to me, when you're feeling anxious or down, comes back to the mood boosting. Sometimes you have to force yourself to do things that you don't feel like doing because it'll make you feel better. So I didn't feel like doing anything today, but I had a shoot this morning and that helped. And then coming in here and recording has been my orange.
You reminded me of my orange, which it shouldn't be. And now it sounds, this is probably a red flag, but for me too, because now I'm trying to match your trauma. But we received the ashes for my cat when my cat died recently.
Ooh.
But they wanted to leave it at my house. That wasn't there. They were delivering it. I guess that's what happens. I didn't know. They delivered it and they want to hand deliver it, but no one was at my house. And they're like, we'll just leave it somewhere safe. And I was like, leave my ashes, my cat's ashes somewhere safe seems a bit strange, like next to my bins or something. Like, no thanks. And so I called the guy and he was like, I won't be able to get to you where you live for another hour or two. I'm driving around. And he said, I'm in Richmond at the moment and our office is in Richmond. So he dropped it off to me.
Oh,
so I didn't have to let
your ashes hand delivered, and
they got
that's
hand
your
delivered.
Orange.
I know, that's kind of sad.
It's
isn't
a grim.
it was like a
orange,
yeah, it's a bit grim actually.
but it is nice.
But it was. I
that
thought
he went out of his way.
Yeah, it was nice of them. They were nice.
That's
anyway,
nice.
we have pet story orange and lemons today.
Shit. I know there's a bit of grimness there, but yeah, any pet owners know the feeling, and it really fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's like losing a family member.
It is.
Yeah. So I feel ya. Let's lighten the mood.
Well, I should have given him a real orange. I feel like an actual nice thing that's happened. Today has been an orange in general.
Has
Good
it?
things. It's nice and warm outside. I don't know.
I don't know. Fuck.
Trying to avoid the.
Let's go cry.
I'm trying to avoid the despair of dead animals.
Yeah.
But
I do think that the positive of a silver lining that comes from a situation like that as well, though, is like social media can be such a horrible place, but people reaching out and messaging me about Ziggy, I've had so many overwhelmingly lovely messages, and I really appreciate that. So if that's any of you that are listening, thank you. It means a lot. It makes me sad, but it's also really nice.
It is really nice. I do have a better orange, by the way.
Do you want to give it?
I mean, like, just so we don't end on death, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, and it's just like every day, but sometimes it's not, because I have 2 kids and they can be like, sometimes it's just shit. So that's just the way it is. But today they were awesome and they woke up really smiley and happily, especially my daughter, who's usually at the moment not so much. And she woke up and sat up and was smiling her little beautiful face off. So that was probably
nice
my orange. That's better, right?
Yeah,
it's
that's
better than my dead cat.
That's nice and wholesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy ending on that one. That takes us to the end of another Ask Me More episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed listening to the podcast, this episode or any of the other episodes, please like, follow, subscribe, and also tell your friends, because that's the best way that we can reach more ears and grow, is by you telling your friends about us. So go tell them more.